Libertarians on the right have been better with these issues, and some conservatives have as well. But the question has always been, do you have a right to privacy? I've always said, sure, you have a right to privacy. I can't imagine why you wouldn't have a right to privacy. Now, some on the conservative side say, well, you don't really have a right to privacy. It's not, nobody talked about it in the Constitution, so you don't necessarily have a right to privacy. I kind of disagree, because I think what's talked about in the Constitution are the freedoms you gave up or you agreed to have limited. The freedoms that you didn't agree to have limited are unnamed. They're unenumerated, and the 9th and 10th Amendment says they're to be left to the states and people. The things in the 9th and 10th Amendment, what it says is that there's a plethora of rights. There's an unlimited amount of rights, and they're yours. They're to stay with you unless the government explicitly takes these rights away from you. And so what the conclusion I have with the right to privacy is that I think you do have a right to privacy. And I think you have a right to private property. Now, private property isn't listed in the Constitution either. But I think all of our founding fathers believed in private property, and some of them talked about actually putting the word in there. But I think some of them liked more the idea, instead of life, liberty, and property, they liked life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I think it has a more noble ring to it, because it's not talking about the property elite, but pursuit of happiness does involve the pursuit of gaining of things that you will own. One of the things about our government and about the rule of law, and one of the things really that frankly I think a lot of people don't think about, but that makes us an incredibly prosperous nation, is the certainty of the law. And by that what I mean is that the certainty of ownership. And this gets to sort of the idea of why not only do we want these rights for the civil protection, so we can't be incarcerated or accused of a crime falsely without being able to defend ourselves, we also want the rule of law to be consistent for everyone and not mutable. We don't want it to be arbitrary. We don't want the whims of any politician or any executive to be able to decide what the law is. And this isn't the first time that I've had some disagreement with the president on this. When we had some of the bankruptcies, when the car companies were going bankrupt, I believe it was with the Chrysler bankruptcy, that as things went through, there were people who were creditors, and they owned part of the company. I learned this firsthand because I actually had some Fruit of the Loom stock. When Fruit of the Loom went bankrupt, I thought, well, I'll get something, right? They'll be bought out, and I'll get some money when they're bought out. I didn't get anything. I was an unsecured creditor. Well, apparently in the Chrysler thing, so were the labor unions, and usually what happens is a company unfortunately goes bankrupt, all those contracts would be renegotiated, and really then the car companies could become competitive. They could become like Toyota or other successful companies that are non-unionized, and they might have become successful again. But instead, we took the actual bankruptcy law and we turned it on its head. When we do this, and when we bail out banks and things and change the rules in midpoint, it changes what investors do. And it changes that certainty that investors need, either in banks or in car companies. Pension plans invest in a lot of these things. And so a lot of people think, oh, well, the president, had preference for the union because he liked the union. Well, that's fine, but teachers are in a union too, and they had a pension plan, and they owned Chrysler stock, and they got ripped off because he changed the law and gave the money to the auto workers union, but he took it from somebody else. The problem is you need those pension funds, some of which are regular working folks. Firemen have them, police have them, teachers have them. It's one of the things that wasn't fully explained, I think, in the Romney election. He got so much grief for running these funds, but a lot of the people who became successful along with him and who made money were just average, ordinary citizens that are teachers, firemen, and policemen. Their pension plan is there was there in Bain Capital, and I think that was never fully explained. But my point is, with the rule of law, is that certainty is what creates our wealth in our country. One of the reasons it's hard for Africa to get ahead, Africa has great resources, diamonds and minerals. One of the big reasons they don't get ahead is because there's corruption in their government. Some of that corruption we aid and abet because we give foreign aid directly to corrupt governments who steal it. Mubarak was one of the richest men in the world, probably worth between 5 and 10